Hello and welcome to BusyWorksBeats.com. Today we're going to cover some more beat making principles and beat making basics. Today we're going to focus on a concept called psychoacoustics. It's not talked about as much because it's one of those subtleties that we don't think of when we hear sounds. But have you ever asked yourself what makes something sound more real from fake? For example, if we have the sawtooth, it sounds fake because it's one, a sawtooth, I'm not sure is a natural sound, but two, because it's just dry and it's just there and it's loud. Now, what happens if we add, for example, a plugin that creates the perception of a room? Now in Ableton, this plugin is really good. It's called the under audio effect. It is called the hybrid reverb. So hybrid reverb, I don't know the definition of it, but it looks like a convolution reverb slash, something else. I don't know what the hybrid part is, but maybe you can combine different impulse responses here. So now as I add this more realistic environment, as I crank this up, it sounds like the sawtooth is in an actual space. And when we add this thing called echolocation, basically if you close your eyes and you hear sounds around you, your brain conceptualizes where a sound is, okay? Now in real life, when sounds bounce around, they don't just hit your right ear only or your left ear only. Okay, they hit both your left and your right ear at different times and at different volumes as well. Okay, so reverbs basically emulate that echolocation. So what we can do here, for example, is add a very small amount. Now this is an obvious reverb. When I say reverb, most people think of this sound. Okay, so most people think of that type of reverb. Now what we're going to do is dial this in to where it's not as obvious. I covered this in a different video, our beat making basics around phase. But essentially, when sound is delayed more than 20 milliseconds, we perceive it as delay or an echo. So here we can perceive it because it's a very big sound. Now what happens if we lower what's called the decay curvature of the reverb response? Now it's not as obvious that we're in a space. Now if I turn this off, it's just right there. It's like a dry vocal you record in that doesn't sound natural, because in a real room, you have the ceiling, you have walls, your voice bounces around the room and then back to somebody's ear. It's not in a silo. Okay, so when we add this, we're creating a virtual room, I'll say. Now this plugin is super slept on and super underrated. We can also switch the algorithm. I'm going to keep it on dark hall, but there are other algorithms in how it calculates the distance off the walls. Okay, so the shimmer, tide seems the most compact, and prism sounds more like a smeary delay. So either tides or dark hall for this effect we're using. And now we can also lower the size of the room. So if I make the room bigger, it just adds that micro delay time back to the microphone, but it doesn't give it feedback. It doesn't keep bouncing off the walls, whereas decay keeps bouncing off the wall. That's why it has such a long echo to it. So let's make it small in size and low on the decay curvature. Now if I turn this off, let's turn it on. Now most people don't understand that difference, but this is why it's called psychoacoustics, is because it's such a subtlety that tricks the ear. And usually with sound design, what we'll do is we'll dial this back. So instead of being super obvious like this, we'll pull back the dry wet level to where now it's almost indetectable. If I didn't tell you guys it was there, you wouldn't know. But now it feels more real because it has that subtle sense of space. Let's see if we add a little filter here. Now this is in addition to the video. This is not a step for you guys. I'm just doing this for the sound itself. Let's add a little bite on the sound here. See if a little release, I don't have to keep jumping around. All right, so now that we have the actual sound, let's have it ring out a little bit. All right, and now let's add the effect back in. I should probably record this, shouldn't I? Yeah, let's go to 140-ish BPM and let's record this in. Now, again, this is just on the fly. I'm going to show you guys a different track here. So we can sit here and record all day, but let's just use that. All right, so now we have the actual sound itself. I want you guys to feel the realism of the sound, even though we're using a sawtooth. All right, now let's add the reverb in. Okay, so let me turn the reverb on and off. So as I turn it on, it adds an extra layer of realism. It just jumps out. Some people may feel more analog. The reason is because now we're running it through a real way that sound will work in the real world, which is bouncing off of walls or off of nearby objects. So now it's taken out of this digital environment where it's just the sound wave itself, which already is unnatural as a sawtooth. And now we're adding a space to it, giving it more of a natural decay curvature. Also, sounds with decay curvatures are more natural. Think about real life. What real sound sustains forever? You know, sounds usually have a decay curvature the same way cells have a half-life, or, you know, different molecules have a half-life. So that is a concept I want you guys to apply this weekend. So the next concept here is the second harmonic, and how some people say we can take away the bass, and if you leave the second harmonic, it creates this illusion that the bass is still there, but they don't explain why. Okay, so for example, if we go to the menu and initialize this, let's go to a sine wave. Okay, now let's go to the pencil tool, and this opens up the partials that we can adjust. Basically speaking, binary 1 or bin 1 is the fundamental frequency. Okay, and that is, let's say, 100 hertz. Now, as I go to bin 2, we're multiplying the fundamental frequency times 2. So if I play a frequency here, that's the fundamental. If I add the second harmonic, it's that frequency times 2. But nobody, they think of it as just a number. They never ask, okay, what is the intervallic distance between these two? Okay, so for example, here's the root note with one root fundamental. Now, if I play 2 notes on my keyboard, I'm playing an octave, okay? I want you guys to listen to the tone. Sorry, wrong note. Here we go. So it goes dun. I want you guys to listen to this tone. That is an octave up from the root note. Now I'm playing 1 note here, the root note. Now what happens if I add the second harmonic? We get that doo sound in there. I'm only playing 1 note, however, but we're getting 2 actual frequencies out of it. We're getting the fundamental or the root note, and we're getting the octave. So the reason we can cut out the fundamental is because literally it's the same note up an octave. Okay, so that's why when people talk about cutting out the fundamental frequency to, you know, free up some headroom for their mix, you can do that, but they never explain the why. It's because the second harmonic is the octave of the root note. So that's why it's representative of the same sound, because it literally is the same frequency, you know, times 2, okay? Or the same note up an octave. Okay, think of it that way. So that's the, you know, the secret revealed in terms of psychoacoustics. Now, what I found, now this is kind of esoteric when you get into bass design, but if you want to sound more realistic, I found that the second and third harmonic are that sweet spot for that realism. So to take a simple bass from sounding like boringness like this, not that it's boring, but just plain, I'll say. Okay, if you want to add that like depth, that realism without adding a bunch of saturation, you can simply just add the second and third harmonic. So now you're playing 3 notes technically, and just change this ratio depending on how boxy, excuse me, of a tone you guys want. And I don't know this technique. I haven't done this in a while. So let me see if I can remove these frames. I'm not sure how to do this. Let me pause this video so I can get this process down. Okay, so to remove a frame, we just hit delete. So what I'm gonna do with this frame system is add this shape at the beginning of a sound and then add a sine wave taking away, like basically I'm just shaping harmonics over time. So on the 3rd frame, I'm gonna do something like this. And I think in Serum, we can actually modulate through the wave shapes here, if I'm not mistaken. So my goal here is to go from this wave table to this frame to this frame over time. But the thing is, we don't have all the in-betweens. So I have to figure out how to actually spread these out over time. There's a function in here, I just forget what it's called. All right, so I found the function. It's over here under morph, and we're gonna click here and just do a crossfade between these 3 frames. So basically on the front panel, you guys will see how these are 3 separate wavetables. Okay, what we're gonna do is basically create the in-betweens by creating a crossfade, and it will generate more frames so that we have more stuff to move through. So it doesn't feel as static of a jump. So let's do crossfade. And as you guys see, the numbers changed here in the frames. So now they're slowly morphing from one frame to the next. All right, so this is just a technique for sound designers who want a more natural sound. Is harmonics, pardon me, they shift over time. They don't just stay static, okay? Especially in real life, when you agitate a sound, that's called a transient. And then when it fades, that's the sustain. So it doesn't have the same harmonics all the way through. So if you guys want a more realistic, bass tone, try that technique. And basically we're just gonna slow the decay over time. So it sounds like a string has been plucked. Now you can go deeper with this concept and add. Now we're going into sound design land, so I gotta be short about this technique. But we can go into, where's it at here? The sine wave, we could turn off the level. We can go here to warp. We can FM from B, and we could do the same thing, giving it a shorter transient. Like in real life, when you hit a bell or you hit a table, the boominess of it doesn't last forever. So we're gonna add an envelope here to turn up the FM amount and then have it decay over a short amount of time. So here's the effect we're adding, but it's at a short amount of time. And then we can right click here. Most people don't know, you can change the mode here to ratio. So this is similar to your like Yamaha DX7, and you can go by ratio, which is just jumping the octaves. The higher you go, the more metallic. Okay, so like how bass has that scratchy tone sometimes when you hit a string. I'm gonna pull this ratio back, so it's more of a knocky type transient. So now it sounds more like a pluck. Now we could sit here and design this way more thoroughly. You can also make this dissonant, so it's not like perfectly tuned. And sometimes dissonance adds that thing that makes a sound feel like the sound. Like for example, a lot of bells are dissonant, they're not consonant. So this is not a sound design video. I just want to add that little detail in there for some psychoacoustic thoughts. And then from here, we can just rev up the sound just a little bit with some tube saturation. All right, and now we have, you guys can see those. I don't know if you guys can see, but if I trigger the note, you can see the harmonics move over time. And that's what makes the sound feel real, is having that movement of harmonics. It's not just a static image. Real life, we move around. Imagine we're just all still images. Now let me show you guys another concept here. I think we could do this easily, hopefully. So let's go to menu, and we're gonna render the oscillator. No, we wanna resample. I don't know how to do this actually, but basically I wanna copy everything we did in oscillator A over to oscillator C. Now I don't think I'm gonna do this properly, so I'm trying to think of a better way to do this. All right, so I just learned a new feature in Serum. Apparently, if you right-click oscillator A, you can copy this. So that's super dope. Let's copy with mods and then right-click here, paste. So hopefully, wow, you learned something new. That's why I teach, because you end up discovering stuff like that. All right, so now we have the same exact sound, just basically doubled on oscillator C. Now another psychoacoustic thing here is to create a left-right offset. We covered this in the phase video about the beat making basics. So what we're going to do is take this oscillator C, which is the same exact sound as oscillator A. And let me make sure this is FM from B. We want to make sure this is the same modulation. I'm not sure why I switched there. Okay, so now what we're going to do is pan one sound to the left. I'll do the right side now. All right, now oscillator A is going to be panned to the left. Now, if we play these same exact sounds, hard left and hard right, it's not going to sound wide. There's no difference between the two. Now, as soon as we introduce what's called pitch drift using fine-tune cent values, now we hear that width. Okay, really the psychoacoustic trick here is that the left ear is hearing something different than the right ear. And that difference is the actual tuning. So it creates a width. You could do this. You can do this technique with volume. Doesn't always have to be. Okay, so you can do that with film. Now, if I want to make this more random, so I don't have to keep changing the tuning, I can go over here to sample and hold, for example, or a chaos filter, or some kind of movement that's random. Let's do sample and hold just to see what it sounds like, and add this over top of the fine tune. And now that pitch will move subtly over time. Now we can smooth out the tone and make this faster. So now it's less obvious, or we could even make it slower. Now what I would recommend you guys do is pull in the range here so that it's not super dramatically different. Usually you want to stay within 30 cents. So I'm going to pull this value within 30 cents. I'm actually going to go to the mod matrix. It gives us a little more control. So LFO2 is controlling the range here. And basically I have to reset this back to 0 so that the range starts at 0. And then we're going to pull the range to about 30 cents. That's, you know, it's simple. It's similar to delay. Once you go past 20 milliseconds of delay, it sounds like delay. But once you go past 30 cents of pitch detuning, it sounds like it's detuned. So we were going to keep it within that range. And now we have a wide bass. So if I turn oscillator off, oscillator C, and then center this, and then turn oscillator C on, now we have a nice wide bass. So let's add that hybrid reverb back in to add that extra realism, because it's doing more than just a left-right change. It's adding timing differences and depth differences. All right, now we're going to cover something called the Fletcher-Munson curve. To be simple about it, our ear is more sensitive from frequencies from about 500 to 5 kilohertz, 5,000. So from 500 hertz to 5,000 hertz, our ears just picks up more signal. Okay, and that's because we're evolutionarily designed to pick up the sound of a baby's cry. When you have your own child, you will understand it burns itself into your brain when you hear your baby crying. It's like everything turns into that sound. Okay. So what we're going to do here is just add this in. We can go back to frame 1 and just add more harmonics. This is an easier way to do it because you can't EQ your way into more harmonics. Harmonics have to exist before you shape the ups and downness. And EQ basically is just turning these harmonics ups and down in volume and messing with what's called the phase at the bottom here. So that's essentially what an EQ is doing. So again, an EQ can't turn this stuff down or up because there's nothing that exists up there. So we need to actually add the frequency so that that upper frequency exists. And then we could just turn the level down so it's not jumping out like it's a tone. Because now it sounds like a synth more than a bass. And we can even have a harmonic difference between the left and the right. So all we have to do now is just make sure we reset the wavetable position. So now basically I'm just changing the starting frame so that they both start on a different harmonic structure. Like for example, I could just go crazy and make it something like this. And now the right ear is completely different than the left. And let's do something on the left frame where we just kind of do something like that. So they're different just tonally speaking. And now we perceive the right one as brighter, okay, because it has more harmonics. So this one goes all the way up to 9. The one on the right goes all the way up till 16. So we have more higher frequencies from that band of about 500 hertz up to 5 kilohertz, and it's making the one on the right sound louder. So now it feels like an imbalance in the sound. So we're going to pull this volume back. So that's how our ear is designed, is to pick up those frequencies from about 500 to 5 kilohertz a lot easier than everything else. Now we're not designed really to pick up bass as much. That's why people boost the bass so much in the highs from about 10K up. So now it's just about turning the level down until we match. Now at this point it's turning into a synth, so we might as well do polyphonic and just up the octave here. So now we're getting out of the acoustic bass. I don't know why my sustain pedal is just like locked in here. All right, so all these elements can stack up to really unique stuff. We were going to cover masking, but I think masking will make more sense in a mixing environment than a sound design environment. So I want to thank you guys for watching this series. This series is going to cover all the basics in beat making, music theory, sound design, just all the basics that people skip over. All right, y'all. So subscribe if you're new. If you want to learn more, go to busyworksbeats.com/premium. You guys can sign up for free. Peace out, guys.